Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. This is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between, so let's get started. I had 12 comics this week, so a pretty average sized haul for me compared to last week, which was a very big haul. So let's jump in, and also, of course, by the end of the episode, I will announce the viewer's pick of the week. So definitely in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured in the episode. But like I said, let's jump in to the episode. So number 12 for me this week was Justice League Last Ride issue 3. I believe this is a mini-series. I really enjoyed issue 1. Issue 1 was the revelation of Martian Manhunter dying and why Batman and Superman are butting heads. And with this issue, and even the previous issue, I feel like all it is that Martian Manhunter has died. It's the only thing they've kind of been harping on. And the main event, the main plot isn't as interesting as that butting heads moment. But the book doesn't really get to see Superman and Batman butting heads as much. And of course, this is a story we've already seen many times. And done very well with Injustice Gods Among Us. So I don't know if I'm going to get the next issue or continue the miniseries. I do feel like it's lost steam since the first issue. I feel like the first issue was very good, but I don't really know where the series is going. And the artwork is pretty good, though. I do like the darker art style, but still feels very reminiscent of just classic Justice League. So I'm giving that 2 stars, and that is number 12. All right, moving on to number 11, a book I'm kind of surprised to see so low because I've been loving this series, and that is The Joker issue 5. So this issue was kind of a one-off where we get to see, once again, Jim Gordon's relationship with the Joker and his relationship with Gotham, which felt a little repetitive for stuff we've been seeing. There wasn't really any new information. It felt very fillerish. But the art style reminded me a lot of the Gotham PD series, so I like that from a reminiscent point of view, but the story itself was just very forgettable and like I said, just very repetitive of things we've already seen before with this series in particular, not just stuff we've seen from previous stories, which we have seen a lot with Jim Gordon and the Joker, but just this series in particular. So I'm giving this one 2.5 stars. I was a little disappointed with this, and hopefully we get to the main story again soon. So that is my number 11 pick, and I gave that 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 10, which is Skybound X issue 2. I got the first issue just to see what this is all about. This is not being reprinted. It's not being collected in trade, so that's another reason why I got it. But I am not reading every Skybound book. The stories here I actually have read most of the books though. So Stillwater is a series I'm following. Birthright I followed more than half of the series, so I knew what was going on in there, and I didn't really know what Everyday Hero Machine Boy was. I guess maybe it's just a short or it's a continuation of something. Maybe they said it in its log line. I don't think they do. I think it might have just been a short story. And we do have the Rick Walking Dead story as well, which I don't follow The Walking Dead, so that didn't really do much for me either. So none of the stories really gave me a lot. That's why it was so low. Even the Stillwater story, like, I liked it. I like seeing the little boy. I think he is a very interesting character, and it was a nice little short, but not enough to spend, $4.99 on this book on a weekly basis. I might get issue 5 just because it's the first appearance of a new Robert Kirkman character, but I don't see myself getting issue 3 or 4. I actually follow Stillwater, and this one didn't really even do it for me. So overall, I'm going to give that one 2.5 stars. I think if you are a super Skybound fan, go check it out. If you're not, I think this is pretty skippable. So that is my number 10 pick. Moving on to number 9. I am so sad to see this so low in a continuous basis, and that is Iron Man issue 10. I love the artwork. Cafu's art style blows my mind every single time I see it, but I'm not loving the story. I feel like it's kind of very disconnected from what has been going on, and I think what has been going on has been very prolonged with Cardiac. That's not his name. Cardiac. What's the guy's name? Oh man, What is our main villain's name? Anyway, main villain guy, we haven't really seen him in a while, and Iron Man had been missing from the previous issues, so now we finally get to see what he's up to, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's interesting. He's on this kind of other world, interacting with other hermit-type characters. Other people have been going through stuff, and the one interesting tidbit from this issue is probably him getting addicted to drugs because of everything that's been happening to him, and he needs painkillers, and I thought that was a very interesting thread, and they obviously say, hey, this is going to continue and be a big part of Iron Man's story, so I enjoyed that, but him being separated from everybody has really taken me away from the story, and I hope we just get back to him and Patsy interacting, him and his other friends interacting, and just going back to basics, because I really feel like it's gone a little bit too far with this plot. So overall, I'm giving that 2.5 stars. There's some little tidbits I liked about this issue, but I do think it needs to go back to basics. So that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Detective Comics, issue 1039. Another story has been going a little while. We get to see the murder mystery of Sarah Worth and who is behind it. We get a little bit of an origin story with this character, and the most interesting thing definitely being him taking over Huntress. So I enjoyed that. But it was kind of point A, point B storyline. The ending is something we've definitely seen before, where Batman's like, I gotta turn myself in. That's what I gotta do. It's definitely a cliffhanger we've seen before from Batman. And, I don't know if I really love the villain. He's like, okay, I guess that's interesting that he's behind this all, but there wasn't a lot of the emotional oomph in this issue. The reason this is a little higher than others, though, I really like the artwork. It has kind of a Greg Capullo feel to it, and even though I love Dan Mora's artwork, it didn't feel like, oh no, there's another artist that's not usually the same artist on this book, and it's so jarring. And I do, I obviously understand not, Dan Mora can't do every issue sometimes, so it was nice that the replacement artist was just as talented and had a similar style, but a little bit of a grittier style, so I like that. So giving Batman Detective Comics issue 1039 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Infinite Frontier, issue 2. So this has gone down in the rankings a little bit. Issue 1 was actually my pick of the week when it came out. But I do feel like it kind of tried to bite off a little bit too much that it can chew here, where it definitely dives into the multiverse stuff a lot. We get to see a lot of multiverse characters. We get to see Chase back. We get to see what's going on with Roy Harper, with Batman and Superman keeping secrets about the multiverse. Alan Scott, this is all happening in one issue that's regular size. I do wish, instead of breaking it apart and only getting, let's say, 3 pages from a character, that every issue may focus on a different character. The parts I definitely like the most, I really like Chase. I like that she's kind of our eyes. She is worrying about the regular people. She's not really a superhero, but she is connected to the superhero world. So I really like that point of view. Then the middle stuff happened. You're like, okay, all this multiverse explanation and exposition, and a lot of characters are kind of thrown at you. But then you go to Roy Harper and you get a little bit more of an emotional pull again with him seeing his daughter, him changing into this Black Lantern or Gray Lantern, whatever he is, and trying to figure out what that means for him as a character. So there's definitely some tidbits I really enjoyed about this issue. Artwork is really good for this, especially for something that is a event book, kind of flagship event book. So it's nice to see some high quality artwork here. Overall, I'm giving this 3.5 stars. Not as strong as that first issue, but still entertaining, and I'm curious to see where the event goes and what this means for kind of smaller characters, smaller characters, but characters we don't know if we're going to see past Infinite Frontier like Roy Harper or Chase. So giving this 3.5 stars, and that is number 6, I believe. Nope, that was number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Batman Urban Legends, issue 5. So I'm going to give a note here. I didn't read the Grifter story. I'm not a huge fan of the Grifter story, so I just kind of skip it at this point. But I did read the other 3, and I really liked all 3. I been picking this up because of the Jason Todd story, and I still like it. I don't think it's as strong as it was in the beginning, but I like seeing his side of the story and how he is different from Batman, really analyzing his relationship with Batman. I do think that story has slowed down a little bit, but I just really like that vibe of that book, and I think Chip's voice for Jason's really great. And I haven't read a really good Jason story, a solo Jason story, in a long time. Then going into the Batgirl story, I thought that had a lot of potential. It definitely tied into, from what it seemed like, the Batgirl ongoing series, the previous one, where Ryan from the Batwoman series appears here. I didn't know that was her until the end because it says Ryan was here. So I'm guessing that was her. And we get to see a little bit from Cassandra and Stephanie and how they team up with each other. And I'm like, damn, I wish we had a whole series like this. And it just feels a little bit too much like a tease. It's only a one-part story here. It's not like the Tim Drake or Grifter or Jason Todd stories where we're getting multiple parts here. So that's a little disappointing as well. And I'm like, when are we just going to get this Batgirl series? I want to see more from all three of these characters. I think it would be such a great interaction. The artwork was really, really good. It was cartoony, kind of had a YA slice of life feel, but at the same time, the action was so fluid. It really was great. Moving into the Tim Drake story, probably the one I enjoyed the most. I love the kind of, in my opinion, the queer undertones of Tim Drake in this story, especially it's him trying to figure out who he wants to be. And he is very obsessed with this Bernard guy, and everyone sees it. Like, Stephanie's like, hey, I know we broke up, but you want to talk about this Bernard guy? Like, why are you so obsessed with this? And then she calls Connor, is like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And even him, he's like, I don't really know why I'm so obsessed with trying to find him and trying to find my friend. And I just want to know who I am past being Robin. And it's just really soul-searching issue. And I really liked it. I hope they're not queer baiting us. I do hope we get a nice ending here and some confirmations, but if they are, it's a lot of queer baiting because there's so many themes here and so many obvious points here of queer codingness. So very curious to see where that goes. I really like the Tim Drake story a lot. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars. I really like this book. If you're a Bat Family fan, there's always at least one story that will probably be for you. And they really do a good job at kind of making a round robin where they focus on different characters with every issue and making every issue feel fresh. So that's my number 6 pick. Moving on to number 5, and that is 7 Secrets, issue 10. This one really picks up where there's a lot of action, where they get to team up with the Queen of England, their version of the Queen of England, and learn a little bit more about the secrets. Eva, I think is how you pronounce her name, the mom has found out a lot of stuff, and that includes Casper's father being alive. And we don't really get an aftermath of that. We just know we're going to get more of it. I love the way that the narration's told from the future, very Saga in that regard. And I think it helps this book a lot as we get to see Casper really reminisce about the events and him losing his innocence and us knowing that he's gonna die at some point, but knowing that the dad died and he came back, that doesn't mean Casper won't come back and he may not officially die, so I think anything could really happen here. But yeah, really digging deep into actually figuring out some more stuff about these secrets while really balancing some great action with the Queen of England and them trying to get the prime minister, and then all of it being connected, that the queen is involved with the secrets in this council as well, and just seeing how involved they are. So overall, I gave this 4 stars. I love the art style. Every issue feels like I'm watching an anime, and this issue in particular does a really good job at balancing, again, the emotional aspect with the action of the issue. So that is my number 5 pick, and I give that 4 stars. Moving on to number 4, which is Thor, issue 15. There's a lot of rhyming in that sentence. So this is Captain America versus Thor, but really the bigger story is that this is the aftermath of the Blake story, where Thor can't control his hammer anymore. So it's a little bit of a twist of not being worthy. It's more of his role as Odin's son has changed. He is a king now. That doesn't mean that means he's not a warrior anymore. And what does that mean for his connection with the hammer? And if he's not connected to the hammer, who's getting the hammer? Obviously, we had the whole James Foster story. So, I don't think they're going to repeat that. So what does this mean for the hammer? What does this mean for Thor and his journey? And I just love that it's so different from anything we've ever really seen from Thor. And yes, there's reminiscent stories because, again, it's the idea that he's not going to be using the hammer anymore, but it's from a different lens. It's from a different place of him not really being a hero anymore, and him really taking over this royalty, but still him questioning if he even wants it. So is he worthy to be king? So there's a lot of interesting thematics here, and I just thought it was a really good aftermath and a good follow-up issue to a great arc with Donald Blake. Overall, really solid. I believe the new artist is on this issue as well, and I really like the art style. It's not as gritty, I guess I would say, as the previous artist, but definitely matches the style well and really works well. And there's some good superhero moments here too, obviously with Thor and Captain America interacting and them talking about time passing and what it means to lose people they love and the potential of that and what is time. So you kind of have this philosophy question as well. So I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is my number 4 pick. Moving on to number 3, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 72/Mighty Morphin issue 9, and another really good aftermath issue. We had a really big moment with Matt revealing to the world that he's a Power Ranger, them dealing with the big bad, and now the whole city, the whole town having to work together to go back to reality, go back to what life was, and they all dealt with this trauma. How do you even do that? The rest of the world didn't see what they saw, and I really like that this just goes back to basics. It goes back to character work where, the other Rangers are still a secret, and they still gotta have their assignments on time, but then Matt, everyone knows he's a Ranger. How is his life affected? How is his school life affected? Because everyone knows he's a Ranger. Well, it's that he's a celebrity and people are playing favorites with him. But then, it's not just the aftermath of how the town's interacting to them. It's the aftermath of how they interact with each other. The teamwork between Matt and the other Rangers is not perfect, but most importantly, the teamwork with Billy and the other Rangers is not quite there yet either because of Billy's betrayal in some regards. And then we get some of the more mythology building aspect as well, and seeing what's been going on with Skull's girlfriend, and I'm curious to see how that ends, and if she's actually gonna go back to normal life after all this, or how she's gonna be involved in the bigger story. Overall, I thought this was a really solid issue. Again, the character work was great. The artwork was really great as well here, especially because it is very there was a good amount of action, but it's very talking heads this issue, but still flowed really well, and I'm glad we got some of those action beats in the park, and them dealing with just putties was fun as well, and again, how they dealt with each other as friends and teammates, but also teammates with a lot to talk about. So overall, I gave that 4 stars, and that is my number 3 pick. Moving on to number 2, which is Spider-Woman issue 13. Man, oh man, this is such a good issue. And really, it's just an action issue. It's just Spider-Woman dealing with these people who want this file that she has, but the banter in this issue is so good, and the action for this issue is so good. There's a train sequence that they fight in, the way that Jerry gets involved, the way that her friend gets involved, it just bounced so well, and it was so kinetic this issue. And then we have a really good cliffhanger where, of course, Jessica's brother is involved in all of this. So it's just a really well-balanced issue, and it was just funny. It was just fun, and it's just an easy read, and this is where I love Carla's Spider-Woman to be. It's just a fun romp, comedic issue, and and also amazing cliffhangers, because this had a really good cliffhanger as well. So I'm overall giving this 4.5 stars, and that is my number 2 pick. Artwork also so good for this. It really met that the script here. I feel like there's so many cool dynamic shots here, again, especially in those subway scenes. It just the collaboration really worked here very well. So giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, and that is Sinister War issue 1. I'm very, very happy to see this so high. I was a little bit on the fence with this arc. I was like, okay, I feel like they're really just trying to make anything stick here. You know, we had so many villains pop up, but I feel like there wasn't much of a follow through. But here we get the follow through, and here we get what I particularly love about Spider-Man is when they can balance Peter Parker's life with Spider-Man's life, and it opens up with something that's been building up for a while, a lot of some things that have been building up for a while. Mary Jane's movie premiere, which literally she had a whole series about it, and I don't know what happened in that series, but it never really ended. And I guess they're continuing it here, that the premiere happens, and she still hasn't told Peter that she's been working with Mysterio, who has become reformed. The other thing that's happening is that Peter Parker wants to propose to Mary Jane, all while we know there's these undercurrents of one more day maybe unraveling and them learning that one more day actually happened, because we have Mephisto here and Doctor Strange really their threads playing a part in, and also Mysterio being in this issue as well, because he actually knows that has happened, and that's kind of threaded throughout the whole issue. But then you have this kind of pure nostalgic action with all these villains showing up as a big event like a movie premiere, and a big personal event like trying to propose to your girlfriend is all happening. And I love that Mary Jane plays a part of not being the damsel in distress and actually trying to help people there. It was just a really well-balanced issue with a lot of big moments that we've been waiting for. Again, the One More Day stuff, Kindred, I guess hopefully finally getting to a point where his plans are fully revealed and him interacting with the other Harry Osborn. I just thought this was a really good build-up. I hope it's not just a tease, and I hope we get even more follow-through in these next couple of issues, especially as we get to the end. But I thought this was a really promising start, and it just kind of had everything I like about a Spider-Man issue, and it was just perfectly well balanced, which is why it made my pick of the week. This is definitely my favorite issue in a long time for Amazing Spider-Man, and overall giving that 4.5 stars. Also, the artwork is classic Mark Bagley Spider-Man artwork, so you can't go wrong with that either. So that's my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week. And of course, we get to the point where we talk about the viewer's pick of the week. And this week it was Sleigh Bells by Bad Idea. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter, They Call Her Dancer, and my new webtoon, Slice of Life. And also every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Thanks, guys. Bye.